What's up, everybody? Today I'm taking a look at Fredrik Backman's Us Against You, or as I called it, Book Against Me. This, of course, is the sequel to my much beloved Beartown. Unfortunately, it did not have the same feeling for this one. Not since The Matrix Reloaded have I felt so viscerally violated by a sequel. All the aspects I didn't like about the first book are emboldened here. Preachy male feminist melodrama, inane aphorisms, ineffectual misdirections, and the odd omniscient narrator. I hope you're hungry because I'm about to serve up a gripe buffet. Now, Bachman is clearly a talented writer, but sometimes he pours it on too thick. Sure, I can enjoy an ice cream now and then, but if you dip it in honey and then coat it in sugar, it's cloying and repellent, which is how I felt about the writing here. Was it Bachman's goal to write a book replete with incorrect, pretentious, and annoying aphorisms? Because if so, then this book is a rousing success. There are hundreds of them littered throughout this book like poops at a petting zoo. Here's 10 examples. From page 1, because hating one another is so easy that it seems incomprehensible that we ever do anything else. Seriously? From page 5, because the world is kind of shitty to men sometimes, but it treats women like that nearly all the time. That must be why roughly 60 to 70% of the homeless population is men. From page 15, lies are simple, truth is difficult. From page 20, because the idea that violence can ever be controlled is always an illusion. I guess he's never seen a hockey fight, which is fine since this isn't a book about hockey. From page 23, they're so easy to blame, no matter what your opinion might be. Taxpayers. I don't even know what that means. From page 25, because masculinity is hard at any age. You know what else is hard at any age? Reading this book. From page 29, because people are always dependent upon other people, and we can't ever really forgive one another for that. Okay, I'll call my parents right now and inform them that they will never be forgiven for raising me. How dare you? From page 56, the best friends of our childhoods are the loves of our lives, and they break our hearts in worse ways. Worse than what? Bachman, you're making my eyes bleed. From page 196, people's reactions to leadership are always the same. If a decision of yours benefits me, you're fair. And if the same decision harms me, you're a tyrant. And I've just discovered today that I'm not a people. How sad. I always knew I was different. From page 242, almost all fights are won or lost long before they start. At this point, I don't even know what to say. I just picked 10, but there's literally one on almost every single page. And they're awful, and they're exhausting to read. Almost every single one is a because, or always, or almost always. And I don't think he understands what these words mean because they're just not, most of the things he's saying are just not correct. And they're, like I said, they're tiring. The narration is also problematic. The whole story is told from a first-person omniscient point of view where Bachman knows everything that will happen, what everyone is feeling, while also referring to the townspeople as us and we as if he's a character in the book. I wish I could articulate better why this bothered me so much, but it's hard to explain. All I can really say is that I just didn't like it. Also, does Bachman hate men? We've got a drunk dad, a suicide dad, a coward dad, a bully dad, a male rapist, a bully, a violent stoner, and a teacher who has sex with his students. Did Kathleen Kennedy write this? Am I not supposed to roll my eyes? On page 216, when possibly Kathleen Kennedy writes, when guys are scared of the dark, they're scared of ghosts and monsters. But when girls are scared of the dark, they're scared of guys. Oh, God. Congratulations, Bachman. You are the director of the next Star Wars franchise. There is a meta sequence for me where a reporter is needling a politician with questions just to make him have an outburst so he can be taken out of context. I feel like this is what Bachman is doing to me as a reader. He's just needling me with all of this SJW melodrama until I have an outburst and get taken out of context. Thanks a lot, Bachman. Now I've lost my 3 listeners. So there will be some pretty major spoilers from this point forward. So if you haven't read this book yet and everything I've said so far is making you think like, oh yeah, I really want to read this, and probably just go away at this point. So moving on to Bachman's histrionics, which are malignant tumors peppered throughout this bloated corpse of a plot. At one point, Benji approaches the girls in the forest carrying a hammer. Oh my God, what is he doing with that hammer? Is he going to kill them? No, he drops it at their feet because they'll need it where they're going. By the way, they're going to a deserted island where they absolutely don't need a hammer at any point. It's almost as if Bachman just inserted that whole scene to create suspense, despite it making no sense at all. And then there's the major incident that's foreshadowed throughout this book. It's clearly meant to be the emotional crescendo, but Bachman plays the boy who calls wolf so many times before delivering the payoff that instead of fireworks, we get a fizzling sparkler. I actually found myself laughing during the sequence, which was so absurd. I imagined it more as a Monty Python ode to Final Destination than the emotional linchpin of a novel. If Bachman doesn't hate men, he certainly hates believable characters and plot lines. A major goal for any written fiction is getting the reader to suspend disbelief. And in this regard, Us Against You fails miserably. I'm supposed to believe that a female vegan who hates coffee but loves cigars and doesn't understand people or feelings and is quite possibly autistic is not only a real person, but would make a great hockey coach. I'm supposed to believe in her as a coach because she does things like firing paintball guns at her players and then giving them beer after. And then when asked if she thinks it will make them better, she responds with, "How should I know?" I'm supposed to believe that her telling the GM that he can motivate the players while she just handles the X's and O's has any connection to reality. I'm supposed to believe that she hasn't been given an opportunity to coach a high-level hockey team because she's a woman, and not because she exhibits practically 0 qualities that make a successful coach. I'm supposed to believe that all the older hockey players buy in immediately to Benji being their leader during his second practice ever when he yells at everyone for being late, despite him skipping the first practice himself. I'm supposed to believe that hardly anyone in this town has any sympathy for a rape victim. I'm supposed to believe the rape victim and her best friend are being tormented by a tsunami of terrible text messages, since apparently the entire town has both of their phone numbers and SIM cards don't exist in this alternate universe. I'm supposed to believe that this town loves hockey so much that they're willing to protect a rapist because he was a star player, but they won't protect a homosexual star player. I don't believe any of it. I probably would have sooner believed the Night King raising an army of whites to play hockey against a rival team of sorting hats on skates. Deep breath, Adam. I do accept some blame for my Yellowstone caldera-sized explosion of negativity regarding this book. In part, it's due to disappointment. As I previously stated, I loved the first book in this series, Beartown. It's also due to expectation. I didn't want a book loaded with social justice propaganda and the Beartown Green people pointing fingers at the finger-pointing head red people. If I wanted that sort of vitriol, I'd read the news and not fiction. I wanted Mighty Ducks 2, Friday Night Lights, Miracle. I wanted a book with hockey and character development. And sure, there could be some drama floating beneath the ice. But the hockey aspects of this book are nonsense, and the characters are martyrs for Bachman's dramatic agendas. Benji isn't here to play hockey. He's here to be a homosexual, so we can talk about how people don't like homosexuals. It's clickbait. It's intentionally incendiary. This book reminded me of Joffrey Baratheon. I hated him so much in Game of Thrones that I actually respected him for making me so angry. And if that's what Bachman is going for, then I offer my begrudging respect. And yeah, maybe I'm missing the point. Maybe Bachman wrote this book badly on purpose to get the readers to hate him without good reason, just like his characters do to each other in the story. Did he meta manipulate me? I won't reject the possibility. I'll end this book review with another one of Bachman's nauseous aphorisms. It's so easy to get people to hate one another. That's what makes love so impossible to understand. Hate is so simple that it always ought to win. Despite disagreeing with this sentiment completely, it's true here. I can't understand why this book is loved, and my hatred for this book won in the end. So as you know, I rate my books on my own subjective rating system, SLICE, which stands for story, language, ideas, characters, enjoyment, on a 10-point scale. Here's how I rated Us Against You by Fredrik Backman. For story, I gave it a 5. For language, I gave it a 5. For ideas, I gave it a 5. For characters, I gave it a 7. For enjoyment, I gave it a 5, which gave it an overall score of 5.3. Hopefully you enjoyed this review. If you disagreed with me, which I strongly believe is a possibility, let me know why, and I'll see you next time on Rants and Reviews.